I'm also very weird in that way that I love chaos, because when things become too structured, I feel like I'm stifled and not enough creativity. But then when there's too much chaos, I have this innate need to just create some structure.
Is there a way in which you would say, or is there a way you define what is it that you do on a month-on-month basis as a founder of a very hyper-evolved, mature startup?
Yeah, if I look at sort of the core areas that I focus on, right, then on a week-on-week, month-on-month, quarter-on-quarter basis, one of the biggest aspects that I focus on is growth, right? How do we constantly grow, right? How do we identify what are the core customer insights, right? Cross areas, right?
Yeah.
Because oftentimes I think, and this has been a great big learning for me, is that growth is not just marketing or product or operations or supply chain, right? It's everything put together.
Yeah.
And how do you constantly evolve, let's say, customer experience or service quality promise to actually get growth? How do you identify new channels that may be coming up? How do you become more efficient in existing channels?
Yeah.
How do you build new product flywheels that can, let's say, get you growth, right? Engagement, community, etc. So a big part of my energy and effort just goes into growth. And
is this by design that you set your days or months in this manner? Because you'd have to, I'm sure, allocate time for it.
Yeah. So I'm also very weird in that way that I love chaos, because when things become too structured, I feel like I'm stifled and not enough creativity. But then when there's too much chaos, I have this innate need to just create some structure. So almost every quarter, my whole calendar gets reorganized, right? And I will delete everything and I'll say, this is what I want to spend time on, because in my head, these are sort of like the top problem areas that I want to focus on.
That's throwing the team that manages this calendar for you in such a flux, I feel.
And then what happens is that I also, as we operate, I also learn that if, for instance, I need to look at growth, then how would I approach the problem, right? Understanding a lay of the land, some amount of competition, some amount of innovation, some amount of learning, right? A lot of that just gets built into the mix. And then what I do is that a lot of the structure happens in saying, who's the right people to solve this problem with me? How do I bring them together? How do I set the right agenda? And then how do I do it consistently, right? One of the biggest lessons that I've learned is most of the problem solving is just about figuring out the right problem and then just doing it consistently and learning over time, right? And if you can just do these two things, most of the times I feel we focus on the wrong problems, right? Like you were saying earlier, that don't think about the impact, and if you pick the wrong impact, you often end up solving the wrong problem. So collectively, how do we just bring the right people together? I truly believe that diversity is great, right? The more people you can bring in, right people, right? Different perspectives, and not sort of cubbyhole yourself into, this is how we are going to think about growth, right? Just be very open. So growth is one big aspect.
Right.
The second is, for a large organization like ours, just organizational maturity is a big challenge. How do you make sure that you are doing things efficiently, on a day-on-day basis? Efficiency, productivity, happiness, etc. So a big part of my energy just goes in, how do we take the organization from where it is to maybe where it needs to be? And the same philosophy applies, get the right people in a room, set goals, objectives. So for instance, how do we make sure that there are consistent one-on-ones, right? How do we make sure that everyone in the organization knows what is expected out of them at their level, and how do they get to the next level, right? How do we make sure that performance management happens in a timely fashion, right? All of these are tough problems to solve. So that's the second big aspect.
Even though it's already happening, you would try and just ensure that if it's standing the test of time, if it's relevant.
Yeah, because see, what's happening in a hyper-growth organization like ours, everything we do today is outmoded, outdated, maybe 6 months down the line, right? True. Whatever we are doing doesn't work once the team doubles, right? And how do you keep changing your processes, your structures, you're making things more efficient, and actually bringing in new things, right, is really, really important. So that's another thing. And then the last part is, of course, product reviews. That's very, very close to my heart. So how do we just constantly learn and build outstanding products is very.
Do you
very
still
important.
get into engineering? I mean, within the team and try and solve for certain things. I mean, is that itch still there?
Yeah, I think the general itch that's there is problem solving.
Right.
And so the engineering itch is more around what do we do to, let's say, double our productivity, right?
Because you know how it works.
Because I know how it works, right?
Amazing.
What are the problems? And again, I think the crux that applies there is, let's identify that productivity is a problem.
Yeah.
Let's identify what are the things that can do it, and let's just consistently do one thing after the other. So once I decide this needs to be done, then I become a pain in the life of everyone because I don't do the work to them, but I say, hey, it's important.
Yeah.
And I need to now get into program review mode where you need to constantly feed me what's happening on this effort.
Yeah. So